Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team. I am likeanoob100, and I'm just gonna get straight into this because this is RPG Blitz, but the amount of downtime in this run is probably more than your average, actually RPG, whatever. But I'm gonna just start right now. So anyone doing the timer, I'm gonna start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So as you see, I did pick Meowth, and there's a really good reason about it, but I'll explain it a little bit later when I can actually showcase why I did it. But if you're not familiar with the Mystery Dungeon series, basically the idea is you get thrown into a randomly generated dungeon. So your goal is to find the stairs, which will take you to the next floor of the dungeon, and you just rinse repeat that until you get to the end of the dungeon, and then you clear the dungeon. And in this Pokemon skinned version of the Mystery Dungeon genre, you become a Pokemon. I am the Meowth, and I've met my friend Squirtle, and we're going to go on this little journey together. Team of A and S. But you would think that this game would be pretty volatile in terms of how you could play it. But there's a couple of really cool strats that I can do that make this super fast and super fun to watch. So I'm glad that I'm able to showcase this to you guys. But before I go into anything else, we're already getting thrown into our first dungeon, Tiny Woods. I'm gonna do just some speed menuing things here. Hello. Of course, you have to go to fast, because we run go fast. That's not what I wanted to do. That's fine. So in these first couple of dungeons, I'm really going to be trying to track my XP gain. Okay, this is going to be interesting. That's fine. This is going to be a little slow, but honestly, taking some damage from these Sun Currents is going to be better than trying to fight them. And other than, like, just getting bombarded by enemies, we actually had a really good Tiny Woods. So I fought one Pidgey, so that's 12 XP. Throughout the first couple of dungeons, I'm really going to want to track my XP, because I can manipulate certain things around the XP that I gain from the dungeons. But anyway, as I was saying, this mystery dungeon, as you can already kind of see, can be really crazy and hectic, and really you can't really predict where the stairs are going to be. So at the very basic casual level, there's not really much to learn about this game. It's really just playing through the game as fast as you can and just going along with that. But about, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, a Japanese runner, in which I probably can't pronounce the name of, found this very interesting exploit in which we can predict how the floors are going to change around us. And I'm going to use that for every other dungeon in this game. We don't do that for Tiny Woods just because it's only 3 floors, and it's just not beneficial to us to try to manipulate those 3 floors because it takes time to set up the manipulation. So we just take what we get in Tiny Woods, which is okay because it's the beginner dungeon, you know, it's the dungeon that really is a pushover no matter what kind of point you are in your, like, XP curve. So anyway, Squirtle just has this house for whatever reason, and he's just like, hey man, you can live here for a while since you have no real place to go. And we're like, oh, sure, okay. This house is pretty sick though, like, I don't know how he got it. But anyway, we have made our rescue team, and we really don't know what to do now. There's these things called rescue teams in which you just go out and rescue Pokemon because there's a ton of, like, crazy stuff happening. But we're a new rescue team. We're a day 1 rescue team. Who's gonna, like, come get a day 1 rescue team to come rescue their child or something? Like Butterfree did that for us because she was trying to just frantically find somebody. There's no way anyone would really want us to rescue anybody. See? There's no mail for us. But wait. What is that? Pelipper, our good old classic mailman Pelipper. He's brought us a gift. Oh. Let's see what it is. Oh, you found us from Caterpie? Let's go. This is our breakout chance, Squirtle. Let's go. Let's do it. So you'll see me do something very unintuitive here. I'm actually gonna quick save on the first floor of this dungeon. So if you've ever played these games and you've ever put a ton of hours into these games, you know that there's a function that allows you to save mid-dungeon. Just for like convenience sake, not everyone can sit down for 30 minutes at a time and beat a dungeon. So they have this quick save function. You save it, it caches your save, and you can bring it up when you want to play the dungeon again, and it just brings you right back in the dungeon like nothing has happened. But this mechanic behaves in a very interesting way. So when you enter a dungeon, the best way to describe this is when you enter a dungeon, you get a value assigned to your party, and this value determines really everything that is random about the dungeons. Where the stairs are, how the enemies move, how the floors look. And for some reason, that value that you get assigned with upon entering a dungeon doesn't save when you quick save. It doesn't get cached with everything else. So we can do that. We can abuse this idea of the value not being saved to just give us a default value. And with that default value, we can just predict when everything's going to happen. And we can predict it all the way down to like manipulating enemies to move in certain ways so we don't have to fight them. Which I think is super cool. But anyway, this doesn't 100% get rid of the randomness of the speedrun. Because of course we still have to find the stairs on the first floor. We can't really manipulate that. I mean, there's ways you can, like, but they're frame dependent. And on a game like this, which is frame and input dependent, it's really hard to get a good setup for those. And then also another thing that we're going to be seeing here is we're gonna see one other part of the quote-unquote randomness of the speedrun, and that is the jobs. So how this game likes to pad its runtime is by giving us sections of the game where we have to complete missions in order to progress the story. So like, the next story plot point could happen right now, but they didn't want it to like progress like that, so they're like, okay, do a couple missions, complete a couple days worth of missions, and we'll start the next story point for you. And they do that by making us do missions, basically. I've said this like 3 or 4 times already, but these missions can't be random. These missions are completely random. They can't be manipulated in the same way when we manipulate the floor layouts. So we just have to kind of take what we get. Of course, there's 3 types of missions we could get. I got a whopping 5 helping of the Help Me default missions. And these default missions are okay. You just go find a Pokemon, rescue them, yay, everyone's happy. But they're arguably the worst ones you could get. Just because you don't get an extra incentive tied to it. Like for the deliver an item mission, what you have to do is you have to find a Pokemon and deliver the item to them. And delivering the item helps you because it usually takes the item out of your inventory. Which inventory management is something that at a high level is very important because you get a lot of mission rewards specifically. And if we can eliminate the amount of times we have to like clear out our inventory of these items, the better. I'm gonna see. Hey, Voltorb. So I actually got a pretty good early game despite having the bad missions. We'll see how that continues into Mount Steel. But anyway, the third type of mission, before I leave you guys hanging, is that there's a mission archetype called the Find This Set Item missions, like find an Oranberry or find a P.E.K.K.A. berry. And these missions are the best because the only flag that you need to clear these missions are to have the designated item in your inventory. So, like, if there's a fine Oranberry that we can get, we just have to have an Oranberry in there. We don't have to go to that floor. We don't have to talk to anybody. It's by far the fastest one, but it also requires you to have an item, and sometimes you don't have that item. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. But anyway, a little story update for you guys that are wanting to pay attention. There's been some earthquakes recently, and my main man, Doug Trio, that's digging up my floor for my beautiful house, wants me to go check it out. So I'm gonna do him a solid, and I'm gonna check it out for him. He's tearing up my yard too. Gosh dang, Doug Trio. But anyway, I was talking about how I was trying to keep track of the amount of XP that I'm gaining, and it's for this dungeon in specific. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get my XP to a certain range, and with this range, I can actually trigger a double level up, which is basically like leveling up 2 times in one battle. This is tremendously important for speed, but it's also just really cool leveling up twice. I'm gonna let you take care of that. Do I have any rocks? I do have rocks. So I'm gonna, before I go through this first floor, oh my goodness, I just need to find the stairs. I'm gonna YOLO walk. This is probably a bad idea, but that's okay. It has to be over here. There we go. So I'm gonna quick save first of all, because if you don't quick save on the floor, I just can't quick save on the second floor and have the same layout, because how the value works is it progresses a little bit every time you go through a floor. But I'm gonna check my level, and I'm at 288, which is actually a little bit high. So I'm gonna try to get the build. Okay, I understand what I'm doing. Basically, I'm trying to manipulate my XP so I can level up twice on this boss fight that's coming up. So I should talk about why having Meowth is so important. So if you just saw, I picked up an item. And Meowth, as you know, if you've played Pokemon, has the ability called Pickup, which allows you to just, when you're in the overworld, to pick up items in main game. But in Mystery Dungeon, it kind of works in a similar way, where each dungeon, if you are not holding an item already, you could theoretically pick up another item that's a random item on the floor. We use this pickup ability to not only pick up items that we can use later, but also to try to manipulate the floors to our benefit. Okay, I can just do this, right? Yes. There you go. So that was in short, Beldum, when it takedowns you, and it kills itself with its recoil, it doesn't give you XP, which is really nice, because that way we can just not get the XP from that instead of trying to run away from it. So this is our first real boss fight. We're pretty underleveled, I would say, so I'm guessing this is probably going to be pretty hard. I wonder what's going to happen. Oh. Okay. As you couldn't tell, there's throwable items in this game called Gravelly Rocks, which, excuse me, always do a set 20 damage, so it's really good. to use on early game bosses, especially when we don't have access to good moves yet. Because later in the game, we're going to get a move that's pretty broken, but we can't really get that yet, so we have to just use what we got, you know? And the Gravity Rocks are really good for just killing things that have low HP and stuff along those lines. I guess I should say feints instead of kills. That's just a bad word to use. Anyway, now we have a decently long segment where the game's gonna basically tell us to go get some friend areas. You can use friend areas to recruit Pokemon, basically like the equal mechanic to catching. But it's pretty hard to there's not many cases where recruiting a Pokemon would be faster, especially in this category, this specific category I'm running, because it's just, you can use, between Squirtle and Meowth, you can really use whatever you got on you. You can really use whatever that the game gives you between those two Pokemon to get through the main game. But for the harder post-game dungeons, like if you've ever played this game, you know Purity Forest is supposed to be the hardest dungeon in the entire game. We actually, in the speedrun, recruit an Abra, and we can abuse Teleport with the saving and quitting manipulation to get to the stairs that way. But anyway, we have to go check the board again. Hopefully we can get some decent jobs. I mean, it's hard to get bad jobs. Theoretically, like, the worst job is just a deliver mission that you can't do. That you can't feasibly do because you don't have the item for it. But we'll see how this rolls. Maybe I can pick up some good Mount Steel missions. Warp? I can't take that. There's no way I'm taking that. So, they was asking me to find a Warp Orb, which is doable because we get a Warp Orb in the route. Oh, but I don't know. We use it in Sky Tower. Is it plausible for us to not use? I'm gonna not risk it anyway. But this is the kind of on-the-fly thinking that makes me love this game, because you can just get thrown a bulletin board like that, where you need to think about the cost-benefit analysis if you've taken economy classes. I'm taking economy right now, so it's just on my mind. But that idea of, can I take this, and can I afford to take this and go out of my way for an item, or not? So it's just, stuff like that really brings this game to a higher level, in my opinion, than the traditional any percent route. So, you guys are probably wondering why this category is named the way it is, any percent no Wondermail. And that's simply put, a lot of people in the community, primarily me and a couple of other, like, really old school speedrunners of this game, feel pretty uneasy in utilizing the Wondermail mechanic of this game. If you're unfamiliar with it, basically, you can input, it's almost like a language of codes into the game. It's programmed into the game, and you can get spit out customized missions for your leisure. And with that, we can basically break this game. There's so many things that you can imagine that'd be broken in this game, like mobile scarves, and things of that nature that you can't really feasibly get in the main game. So there's a category distinction between the any percent category that uses the Wondermail and this category. I personally think this category is more interesting to watch because we actually pick up everything from our surroundings. We don't have to rely on codes. But I see why both are ran, and I run both myself. But anyway, this is the block of the game where we're gonna have to do a lot of missions. I've loaded up on missions here. Sadly, I only have one Tiny Woods mission, so I'll go back for that. but we have to do 3 missions before a cutscene triggers, and then 2 more missions after that before we can actually get to our next story game dungeon. So I'm just going to go to Thunderwave Cave. The cool thing about the manipulation that we use is that when we go back to dungeons like this, we can just use the same kind of manipulation idea. Oh no, Squirtle, why'd you bubble? That's okay. We can use the same quick saving idea and it'll stay the same. Of course, some things will slightly alter because they have to consider like the rescue client in terms of spawning in enemies and how the enemies move and stuff, but for the most part, this will look super familiar to whatever we did, I don't know, 5-10 minutes ago. And if you've ever tried to rescue someone in this game, you can kind of remember how much of a headache it is sometimes to actually get to them. But with this manipulation, we can also predict how the clients are going to move as well. So if we move in the same manner every time, the client should move in the same manner every time. So if we just keep that into account, we can get to these clients a lot smoother than what we would traditionally do. We'll see Thunderwave Cave again, don't worry, it's not coming, we're not leaving it anytime soon. I mean, we are leaving it, but we're going to come back to it later. So unfortunately, I had pretty bad bulletin board RNG, if you want to call it that, just luck. I don't like the word RNG. I know a lot of people are on the fence with the idea of the word RNG, but the bulletin board luck that I had was subpar. And I have to do 2 missions now, but it's so much easier to go back to Tiny Woods to do 2 missions, just because we don't have to worry about a quick save, we don't have to worry about filling up our jobs again. Because if you take a job off the bulletin board, and you keep it in your job post, like your own personal job, like jobs taken area, it won't respawn with the same floor on the same dungeon. Like if I have a Thunderwave Cave floor 3 mission in my job board, the bulletin board won't repost the Thunderwave Cave floor 3 until I do mine first. So I kind of have to plan out which dungeon I'm going to do which amount of missions in. And usually the rule of thumb is, if we have to do 2 missions, we'll go to Tiny Woods. If we have 3 missions, we'll go to Thunderwave Cave. And if we have to do 4 missions, which is only once in the whole run, we will go to Mount Steel for that. But because we only have 1 of our 2 missions needed for Tiny Woods, I'm going to go back to the bulletin board and see what kind of stuff I can find. Of course, this is a lot slower than just getting decent RNG. I can't get a whole orb either. Okay, I'm getting bodied by these Mount Steel missions, but that's okay. And I'm actually going to go link moves right now. If you didn't know, Gulpin here, my boy Gulpin, can actually link moves up for us. Let me make sure I have both of mine selected. That's just... Anyway, Gulpin here, before I lose my train of thought, can actually help us out by linking moves together. That's the stairs. And the way linking works is that if you can basically use more than 1 move at a time, and within 1 turn. So, if I see another enemy, I'll let Squirtle attack it to kind of show you how it works. But it just allows you to attack more than once in a turn, if you have, multiple moves. So, this is actually a really good example of how this could be helpful. So if there's 2 enemies in the corridor, Squirtle can mow them down with its combined Tail Whip Tackle Bubble. So linking moves it's a very broken thing. If some people who like playing these games casually don't like the idea of linking moves, because it can break the game in some ways, especially if you're actually leveling okay in terms of actually playing the game and not speedrunning it. But of course, for the speedrun, we're going to try to cheese this game as much as possible. So we'll see interesting applications of linking moves later into the game. But for now, we are officially done with most of our missions. We still have to do more later into the game, but we are, for the next, like, 5 or 6 dungeons, actually more than that, for the next probably, like, 10 dungeons, we're gonna just be going story dungeon to story dungeon to story dungeon. Which, I think the mission dungeons are okay, but they're also pretty repetitive and boring, in my opinion. So a little bit of a story update. Can we get a story update? Story update. Basically, Gengar and Medicham and Ekans are little meanie butts. If you ever like, you can visualize them like the schoolyard bully kind of people who just like to mess with people for their own enjoyment. And these 3 fellows basically found Metapod. Well, they were like sneaking up on us the whole time. They were kind of stalking us a little bit. And then when Caterpie comes to us and saying, "Hey, my friend's stuck in the woods," I can't get that sleep seed either. When my friend Metapod's stuck in the woods, can you come help him? The Team Meanies, what you can call them, came in and was like, "We'll do it, and we'll force Metapod to join our team. It's a foolproof plan, right?" So now we're going to Sinister Woods to teach them a lesson. You saw me there filing through my inventory and really tossing out really anything I didn't need. And that's all really because you get a lot of items in this game, like I said. And you kind of just have to limit the ability of you, like, overflowing your items. Because you don't have a very expansive inventory in this game. If you've ever played the Explorers games, you will remember having, like, 5 or 6 pages of inventory space. But in this game, you only have 2 pages or 20 item slots. So earlier I was talking about how I'm going to use pickup to my advantage to manipulate floor layouts. And I'm going to start doing it here. Usually this Sunflora right here is an Oddish that knows Sweet Scent, which is a pain to deal with. And then these 2 Pokemon, Silicon Cascoon, actually don't move. So we manipulated them there so they don't attack us. And then that's also a manipulation to get a Sunflora into a Silicon Cascoon. There's a lot of moving parts within Mystery Dungeon games that is really hard to explain in bulk. And I'm trying my best to, like, get everything in when you're going, but not be super overwhelming, which is insanely hard. Let me scroll down here. So, with this, with Sinister Woods, there was actually a boss fight at the end of this. That is probably the boss fight I had the most trouble finding manips for. So, like, we can predict, like, everything, right? So I can predict how one Pokemon moves really well. But it's hard to figure out how 3 Pokemon act at the same time and manipulate all 3 of them to my advantage. But we have found a decent way that's going to look kind of strange, but we're going to utilize Gravelly Rocks a lot to just help with this. So I'm going to throw a rock at Ekans, a rock at the Medicham. So I'm going to, while I'm doing this, I have to track how much XP Squirtle's getting. When I mean like that, I'm just talking generally like what level he is. Because when you level up, for some reason, especially at this point of the game, you're really prone to changing the RNG just by leveling up. So he didn't level up, so I'm going to go here. I'm just going to rock him. There we go. So that was a pretty good boss fight. That's the best possible outcome, actually, in terms of speed. So now Metapod's saved, we're all happy again. But you know what's not happy? Me and my mission layout. So I'm trying to get set up for the missions I have to do later in the game. Because how the bulletin board works is it can give you any variety of missions from any variety of dungeons that we've gone to before. And since we've only unlocked, what, 4 at this point, the chances of having Tiny Woods, Thunderwave Cave, and Mount Steel missions are pretty good, actually. So I'm going to try to take advantage of that by going to Bulletin Board and stocking up on those kind of missions. But I have not been getting pretty lucky with those, but we'll see. 9 times, more like 99 times out of 100, they work out. But anyway, next story dungeon, Jumpluff. If you remember me when I was blabbering about the difference between 80% and 80% Wondermail, Jumpluff was talking to Shiftry and asking Shiftry if he could go rescue his friendo. And now Jumpluff's like, Shiftry hasn't come back. Can you guys come? I know I've heard you guys are competent. And that is that. We still have to check the dang job board first, because I need jobs. Okay, that's actually really good. What the heck? How greedy am I? Actually, no, this is perfect. Never mind. I'm missing this, which I'm gonna grab right now. Okay. So that worked out wonderfully for me. So I like to call Silent Chasm the silent run killer, purely because this thing kills world record runs like every day. Well, every day someone's streaming world record attempts, but anyway, you get the point. Basically, the thing that makes this dungeon so terrible is its first floor. Because how Silent Chasm kind of works is that you can have 2 different layouts. You can have a layout that has really big open floors, which is amazing because you don't need to explore many rooms. You just have to go find the stairs in the huge rooms. And yeah, maybe you fight a couple of things, but that's infinitely better than getting really small rooms. Because in that way, you have to really search for the thing, and I've gotten the really small room layout. Let's go. But I found the stairs pretty quickly, so I'm happy with that. The other thing that makes Silent Chasm so hard to, like, really... The thing that kills its runs, really, is that it is very volatile in the sense of when you level up, changes how it works. Because, like, if I leveled up on that Weedle, it would have changed how I had to do that floor. And you'll see that basically whenever I kill an enemy, I have a chance of leveling up, and I have a chance... Hello, Withdraw. That was totally on purpose. Totally not a terrible mistake. Let's freestyle here a little bit. Oh, hi, Poliwag. Ooh, you might kill me. Oh, no. That's okay. At least I leveled up here when I'm already close to the stairs. That's the first time I've flipped that floor in a decent while. That's okay. Anyway, as you've... Oh, okay, hello. How you doing? That buffered my input weirdly. That's okay. That triumphant isn't supposed to be there, but that's okay. A little XP never hurts. This is by far, like... You would think the later dungeons are kind of crazy in terms of, like, how precise your movement has to be. This is, like, a dark horse in such way. Because, like, it really depends on, like, what your level is, how you move, how it affects the floor. This floor is a nightmare, but thankfully we've kind of figured out a good strat for it. But you'll see a theme of me kind of going unorthodoxly out of my way just to avoid, like, having to fight enemies. Anyway, that didn't work out as cleanly as I thought it would, but that's okay. But yeah, anyway, we are moving on to Mount Thunder, which I personally think is one of my favorite dungeons. Mount Thunder is up there with Great Canyon and Magma Cavern. I think it's probably Mount Thunder is probably number 3 or 4 in terms of favorite dungeons to showcase, because this is when we're actually going to start breaking the game in a little bit. When I mean breaking the game, I don't mean like sequence breaks or anything, but just like, you know, breaking the game in terms of how far we could push our luck. But before we do that, here's a little snippet for you guys that have played this game casually. You might not know this, but you remember this when Alakazam and all of them are like, "Are you sure you want to go to Mount Thunder?" And then each of them asks you a different question, basically saying, "Are you sure you want to go?" Well, anyway, if you say no to any of them, it stops the loop. So if we say no to Alakazam, we don't have to listen to Tyranitar's or Charizard's question. And it saves a little time, which I think is hilarious. Am I forgetting to do anything? I have my job boards. Okay, yeah. I can go straight to Mount Thunder. So, you remember Return and Frustration in these Pokemon games? They're based on how happy your Pokemon is. We can really figure out, like, it's hard to translate happiness into Mystery Dungeon games because you don't have a ooh, hi Electric. You don't really have like a trainer Pokemon to go towards. So they go to IQ strats, or IQ, which is basically like it gives you the ability to learn cool like abilities and such of the like. And everyone starts with IQ 0. It's basically what I'm moving towards here. And the reason why that's so important is that Frustration is the powerfulest it can be. I don't even know if that's a real word, but it's the most powerful when your IQ is 0, or when you have eaten 0 IQ boosting things. So we're going to abuse that a lot by finding Frustration TMs and teaching them to ourselves so we can maximize our damage output, because weirdly enough, Return and Frustration are based on IQ, and they're set based on IQ. So here's our first Frustration team. I'm just going to teach it off the ground. I'm not even going to bother picking it up, because you get a use TM out of it, which is not very fun. It's just an inventory waster for the most part. And I'm going to quick save again right here, so I reset my assigned value, so I can get my second Frustration from the next floor. So this 6th floor is actually a decent decent visual idea of why we move the way we do. So I'm going to go in this loop, and I'm going to go in this loop, so I don't have to fight that Stantler. If I would have just gone straight forward, I can fight that I had to fight that Stantler. Also, another thing that's really interesting about Mystery Dungeon games is that you can teach the same move more than once. So even though I already know Frustration, I can just teach that again over a different move and have 2 of the same move. And remember Gulpin with his linking? That's not what I wanted to do. Gulpin with his linking. I can also link with an item called the Link Box, which I've just found. Yeah. We totally didn't quick save on floor 5 to find that. But anyway, now we have Frustration, which is a 45 set damage move, and we have 2 of them. So we're effectively dealing 90 damage a turn, which is, if you've been paying attention, that is a lot. That is more than most of the health that the Pokemon in the main game have, other than bosses. So let's see if ooh, I actually have good layouts, because I have the really open floor layout of Mount Thunder. Mount Thunder is kind of in the same way as Chasm, where it can have a really open layout like this, or it can have a really small condensed rooms layout. Oh, where are these stairs? Okay, this is gonna be scary. If I throw a rock behind me after this, I should be fine. We'll see, though. I might just YOLO run it. So, another really good thing, one of the main reasons why we use Squirtle, is that for one, its bubble has a range, so it can help us that way. But also, its bubble has the ability to slow down Pokemon. Which, if you've played Mystery Dungeon, and you've been accustomed, if you've been subjected to Aerodactyl's agility from the last dungeon of this main game, you know that speed is kind of broken in Mystery Dungeon games. So if we can slow down our opponent, or especially bosses, if we can slow down bosses, man, we'll be set. Gee, I wonder if we'll slow down Zapdos. I wonder. I guess we'll find out. You know, every bird has the ability to use agility, so maybe it'll come in handy. Maybe he'll use agility and we can slow him down. Oh, hey, look at that. So, yeah, in accordance to, like, being able to manipulate dungeon spawns, we can also manipulate boss fights as well, as long as the boss fight's tied to a dungeon of some sort. Like, all three of the birds we'll fight in this game are tied to their respective peaks. So we also can manipulate every single fight like that as well. But anyway, we got Shiftry back. Everyone's happy. But we need to find ourselves. There's this book I have to read for class, in which this man goes out into the world and tries to find himself. And I think I really relate to him because I can relate to Meowth right here. I really need to, like, figure out what's going on in my world and why I'm a human in this Pokemon world, and it's really confusing. So let's ask Alakazam. He's pretty smart. But Alakazam's like, yo, I'm not smart. And if you compare me to this man Xatu, I'm not smart at all. So you should go to Xatu instead. Climb Great Canyon and meet him at the top of the canyon. And ask him some things. So we're gonna go find Xatu into the Great Canyon. And I think like I said earlier, Great Canyon is amazing. I love Great Canyon in terms of its music, in terms of the craziness you could do on it. There's actually my favorite floor in the entire speedrun is in Great Canyon. And it's crazy. Worcester originally developed it, but we polished it and made it a little bit better. But it's just cool to see, like, you'll see. Usually we would quick save twice in this dungeon, but we're only going to quick save once to save a little bit of time. Because each quick save takes 20 minutes. Or not 20 minutes, it takes 20 seconds. And sometimes we just don't got time to quick save a second time. We just have to go with what we can do for the first floor. So the general theme of Great Canyon is just running away from things. You run away from a lot of enemies. Like, from those two floors, you run away from things. You really only kill things unless you absolutely have to. Great Canyon's great for trying to manipulate enemies away from you, because there's so many, like, things you can do to try to, like, get Pokemon away from you. Like that. Or, like this. This is pretty cool. You will go in a circle to get the Noctowl away from you. So Great Canyon has this theme of just running away from Pokemon. And coming up here, the 11th floor, not this floor, but the next floor, has, I think, my favorite running away movement ever. Alrighty. And that, my friend, is floor 11 of Great Canyon. And that's not what I wanted to do. That's okay. Ooh, is he gonna kill? Oh, he's gonna die too. That's okay. That's fine. I got the floor 11 minute perfectly. I'm fine with that. Anyway. Now we have a very important question to ask ourselves. To tickle or to tackle? So, it is 20 seconds faster for us to attack Zapdos to get his attention. But this is a very easy text box for us to just kind of zone out and hit tickle instead of tackle. And I'm actually going to tickle him for the meme. I love this little animation that Squirtle's going to do. Try to wake up Zapdos. He's obviously not ticklish, guys. I don't know what we should do. And the joke is that, like, if you tickle during your run is blessed, and you're destined to get a good time after you tickle Zapdos. So now we are going to start the long and arduous process of holding the B button. If you've never noticed, you can actually progress the text. I want to say frame perfectly by holding the B button. For some reason, you can't hold the A button, you can't hold any other button to progress text, but if you hold the B button, you can automatically progress the text, so you don't have to mash all of this, which is the best quality of life decision I've ever seen by any video game ever. Like, screw fast travels, and like screw being able to easily go back to places you've been before. I really like this freaking holding B function. And as you can imagine, like, speedrunners love this, because it's just, you don't have to mash, and mashing's all art within itself. Even within the Pokemon community, there's certain people that have different skill levels in terms of mashing A and B. That's okay. I actually don't have to go to the shop. Usually, like, in serious world record attempts, we would only go to the bulletin board about 3 or 4 times. 2 because of story-related things. 1, like, in the Mount Thunder area, and then 1 right here. And then the hope would be to get all the missions you need within that time, because it's optimal that way. But I played it super safe, because I've had runs die to not having missions before, and that's the worst feeling ever. But anyway, I heard that you need a whale in your game to be an RPG. And I think Wishcast is kind of a whale. I mean, he's a catfish, but he's like a big old catfish. I'd say he's a whale. But anyway, Wishcast is just, you know, gonna tell us what we think, what we're not wanting to hear, and we're pretty demoralized at this point. I lost a seed to Houndoom, so I have to actually sell stuff. Anything worth selling? I'll sell my 2 power bands, that's some money. You would never do this in, like, good speedruns. But I want safety over anything else, and I'm not even rewarded for it. Nice, Kecleon, nice. That's okay. I guess, right now, in this little filler section we have here, I can talk a little bit about how the landscape of this game, in terms of all of its different categories and how they came to be. I talked a little bit about 80% versus 90% Wondermail, but basically we started with, like, bare bones going through the game as fast as we can, just taking the RNG as we want. And it's still a category today. It's the no Wondermail, no quick saves category, and it's by far the easiest category to pick up. I would argue that it's one of the easiest categories to pick up of any game, because there's no real tech that you could learn without, like, just doing runs. Because there's an art of going through the dungeons fast. Some people definitely have that ability, that grasps that ability better than others. But really, you just have to know kind of how to do missions the optimal way, and what to link your moves up and who to use. And then other than that, you can just play the game. So that's by far the easiest category to pick up, and that was the main category for the longest of time. Before Halgary found a video about 4 or 5 years ago, in which we saw a Japanese runner get a 212, and we were like, "What? How did he get a 212? Is he just got at the game?" And because it was on the Japanese copy, and we're like, "Does Japanese really save 45 minutes?" And we looked into the run, and we noticed that he was quick saving on the first floor of every dungeon, and he kind of knew where the stairs were going to be. So we put like 5 and 8 together, and we figured out that by quick saving we could manipulate the floors. So that they split that off into 2 categories. And then when the any percent category, which with the quick saves evolved to the point where, you know, we were using literally everything to our disposal. Wondermails, using warp scarfs to go freaking everywhere, all of that jazz. We kind of felt like it was a completely different game than what we started with. So we decided to, you know, like a lot of the Pokemon communities nowadays are reintroducing like classic speedruns that don't use manipulations at all, or use very little manipulations. And we were the first ones to do this. It's not, and we don't want to take, like, we're not saying, oh, we did this and they copied us, but we were just like, we should find a middle ground where it still feels like Mystery Dungeon, but it's not like over the top using Wondermail kind of stuff. And so we just created the no Wondermail category. And to this day, we still have a really active leaderboard. We have, I don't have an exact number, but I would like to say we have over 30 players in our traditional no Wondermail, no save and quick category. And I'm super proud of that. When I entered this community in 2016, no, earlier than that, 2015, 2014, there was probably about 15 of us, and really only like 5 of us that were really grinding out runs. So this game is, like, all in short, this game is super easy to pick up, and if you've played this as a kid and you like the idea of speedrunning, this is definitely a game I'd say you check out. But anyway, we are almost to the best part of this game. We're almost to what I think is the saddest part of this game, in which you have to leave for the Fugitive segment. Because, like, you're feeling pretty down and out about yourself, you know? You're like, oh shucks, we have to leave this place that I've called home the past, I don't know, past 45 minutes. And I don't like it. And you just feel lonely, you know, and it's just gonna be you and Squirtle. You wake up super early to get out there. I'm actually gonna go into the shop, because they let you go to like this Pokemon Square to just get ready for the day, get ready for the Fugitive segment, as I would like to call it. And I have 2 seeds in here, so I'm gonna pick up both seeds. And then I'm going to talk to Squirtle here. And then you're about to leave. You're about to leave everyone you've met and you've loved. And guess who shows up? Guess who shows up? all of your little friends that you've met. Oh, this is definitely my soft spot of this game. Anyway, we are back into the dungeon making, and we are in Lapis Cave. I like Lapis Cave just because it can show us how crazy the manipulation can set us up for. Like, just by quicksaving on floor 1, Lapis Cave sets our boy up for a lot of good things. Like, I don't have to fight a single enemy in this entire dungeon. And this dungeon is the longest dungeon we've ever been in, I believe, with 15 floors. Or 14 floors, excuse me. But yeah, we use Meowth because of pickup, and Skitty is by far the best. Just because stab plus double slap being absolutely broken. Because multi-hit moves in this game are insane. To put it the best way possible. They're just so over the top. And you know, we just blinked, and we're already out of the longest dungeon we've ever tackled so far. So it's hard to tell. Someone asked if this was the optimal seed that we could use. It's hard to tell what would be the optimal seed, because there's infinite amount of them. This is just the seed that we can predict reliably. Anyway, I'm gonna inventory manage one more time before heading into Mount Blaze. I have a couple of items that I really don't need anymore, like this, like that, and that's fine for now. So Mount Blaze is actually pretty. I hate to say it's uneventful, but it really feels like it's uneventful in the grand scheme of everything. Oh, and that's a Pidgeotto that I can't ignore. These Pokemon, you're gonna tell that these Pokemon are getting increasingly more scary, and that's just because we're underleveled as heck. Cause like we've been blazing through this game trying to not fight like anything. And because of that, we're naturally going to just be underleveled. But there's still a couple of redeeming qualities of this, like this movement right here, that's specifically to get rid of a Numel in our path. But at this point, the Manips are going to get down to the idea of getting to the stairs as fast as possible without fighting anything. Because we're getting to the point where we can't really afford to waste our time trying to kill things. Oh my goodness, okay. Because things like that Rapidash, for instance, can probably two-shot us with Ember. Maybe even a quick attack Ember could kill us. But again, these dungeons are going to fly by. One of the most recent changes we've actually had to how we classify these runs is we've allowed safety saving in the peaks of these dungeons, because specifically Fearow in this dungeon is scary. Fearow has access to Fury Attack, which can easily take 2 Reviver Seeds from you if you're not careful with it. Okay, guys, we have a very important decision to make. There's 2 different ways. We can do the fast way, we can do the swag way, or we can do the safe way. And no, not the store safe way. But I'm basically like, the safe way's only slightly safer, because this Moltres boss fight is manipulated, but it's a doozy, alright. You know, I bet Squirtle can really help me in here. I'll see if Squirtle can help me. You know, Moltres is a fire type. I can just, you know, let him deal with it. I can just let Squirtle deal with him. I don't even have to worry about fighting Moltres. We'll see how this goes, you know. We're really underleveled, but, you know, type advantage is everything, guys, you know. Hello, Moltres. Haha, you can't touch me. Anytime, Squirtle. You could really help me out here, buddy. Anytime now. I'm struggling over here, Squirtle. Do you think you can, like, you know, help me here? I guess not. So yeah, even though agility is a thing, and agility is frightening, it's really just, using frustration, putting out 90 damage a turn, can't really beat it. And even with that, Moltres is just as blind, I guess. It's just how that manipulation worked out, which is amazing. But Moltres just becomes blind for a couple turns and just can't hit us. So we really only lose 1 seed from it. Anyway, that's Mountain Blaze done. We are well on our way to running away. If you remember, we're still fugitives. So one of the cool things about this specific like game series that I don't think I've ever seen before is that it actually crosses through multiple platforms. So you can have Blue Rescue Team in your DS slot, but you could also play Red Rescue Team in your Game Boy Advance things. I think it was really cool because it was like cross-platform stuff, even though it was like generation-specific cross-platform stuff, which I think was insanely cool. But unfortunately for Red Rescue Team, it's a pretty big meme, just not only because like it's Game Boy Advance, and Game Boy Advance is significantly less powerful than the DS will be. It's just because the Game Boy game is so much slower than the DS game. Just to put it in perspective, we have a Red Rescue Team time on the leaderboard. I think the fastest Red Rescue Team time on the leaderboard is a 314 in terms of the no save and quit, no Wondermail category. And the fastest DS time for the no save and quit, no Wondermail category is 134. So, what is that, 40 minutes? Yeah, 40 minutes. Obviously, it's not, like, on the same, time scale in terms of, you know, Red Rescue Team doesn't lose you 40 minutes, but it just shows you kind of, like, the magnitude of, version differences. So, the other thing is we can also get, Blue Rescue, we can get both of them actually on the Wii U VC, but it's still significantly faster for you to just play the DS version. Anyway, so we've kind of been leading the pack here with our two frustrations, and Squirtle's kind of feeling a little useless, you know, like he felt like he was doing nothing against Moltres, and he didn't like that. So let's do him a favor. And let's go find him some use. Let's go find him a frustration team. So my goal of this dungeon is to find him a frustration team that he can use. Lucky for us, there's an easy way we can get one for him. Another kind of interesting fact about this dungeon is that this is the only time in the game, this little section right here, where Articuno has this, like, monologue of why are they here kind of deal. It's the only time in which you have to mash to progress text. I can't hold B and have the thing progress. It just doesn't work out that way. Get in here. So this is the frustration team that we're going to look for. Of course, we're going to not pick it up because it's slow to pick frustration teams up. We're just going to go on our merry way. So one of the really amazing things about this dungeon in particular is that it can give you reviver seeds off the ground. This and Mount Freeze are the only two places that I am 100% certain that you can find reviver seeds on the ground. So we're going to use this to our advantage and find as many reviver seeds as we can just for safety's sake. Because these Pokemon are scary. Matang probably does like upper 40s to us with takedown right now. The Rhyhorn's no Fury attack. It's just the whole 9 yards. Everything's just becoming increasingly stronger while we're still freaking level 12. So if you remember, I've been picking up items along the way. Specifically, I've been picking up orbs. And I'm going to be using an orb here to just make my life a little easier. These two Matangs are slow to kill. There's our first reviver seed that we need. And then here on this 4th floor, I'm going to do the same deal and find another reviver seed. So this Articuno fight is terrible casually. He knows Powdered Snow and Agility and Wing Attack, and like Articuno's. It was good that they put Articuno last because Articuno's by far the worst Pokemon of the 3 birds to fight in a Pokemon battle. But thankfully for us, we don't have to really worry about that. We just have to do a couple housekeeping things and fight him. So one of the interesting things about how Pokemon determine what they use, especially enemy Pokemon, is it's a ton of things. But one of the things that it checks for is if your move has a chance to crit, because it needs to check. Hey, is this move gonna do a critical this turn? Frustration, because it's a set damage move, it doesn't have that same property. So that check never happens. So RNG advances differently because that check never happens. It sounds super confusing because it is, but that's the super dumbed down version of it. But because I want to eliminate that check, I can turn off Squirtle's linked moveset that we linked earlier and have him use exclusively Frustration. And with that, Articuno is a cakewalk because it just is. Don't worry, we'll have plenty of more times to do all like the good old SMW speedruns. So our problem with Mount Freeze, like Mount Freeze, the hardest part about Mount Freeze is this man right here, our good old pal Absol. Frankly, I don't really want to deal with him. Having a third party member is actually pretty clunky in this game. And that's another reason why we don't really use a third party member ever. Or recruit for that matter. Just because, like, when you have two Pokemon, they can interact with each other. They can switch places. They can follow each other in a line. And it's easier to move around with two within a two-dimensional space. But when you add a third Pokemon like this Absol, it's just harder because you're not going to be able to see it in this run. They usually form like a little L shape on the grid, which can be bad in situations where you're trying to run away from an enemy and your third party member is just kind of lagging behind and getting attacked because he's not being able to move properly. So we're just gonna sorry, I zoned out for like half a second. We're gonna just make sure that Absol takes a break, you know. He helped us out with Articuno. He deserves a little break. I think if we just let him sit for a while and let us do the heavy lifting, he'll be fine with that, right? He definitely didn't ask us to join the team because he wanted to actually explore with us. Nah, totally not a thing. So we're gonna actually, if you've played this game before, you might not know this, but you can go into your menu right here in this little like alcove area before we enter Mount Freeze, excuse me, and we can actually send Absol home, which is something a lot of us didn't know until we actually started paying attention to this game. But you can actually send Absol home, and he'll just, you know, not come with us into Mount Freeze, which is really helpful for us, because it just makes the manipulation so much easier, frankly. It's unfortunate for a good old pal Absol. If anyone's an Absol fan out there, I'm sorry. Oh, I hope that I have inventory space. I do. Wait, do I? I don't. Let me eat a plain seed. That will help me. One of the things you have to take into account, like when I start each dungeon, is how many item slots I need. Because I need to pick up items, like that link box. I'm going to have to use that later. And then like stuff just on the way, like this orange berry, isn't good to pick up, so I usually just don't bother moving around it. But it fills up your inventory fast. And I think from floor 9 on, we're gonna see constant snow, which is interesting to say the least. It's just a thing that exists, kind of. There's a Pokemon, there's a starter actually, the name of Psyduck, that eliminates this animation from happening. So if in a perfect world we could have figured out a way to utilize Psyduck, but unfortunately it's a starter exclusive Pokemon. And, like, when you have a water type, they can walk over water. And that's just really clunky for us to deal with when, we're speedrunning and trying to go fast. So here, I actually picked up my item strategically on the 13th floor to get these, oh my, where's the seeds? Get these seeds to spawn as reviver seeds. And that's Mount Freeze. We have to also send Absol home yet again because he comes back for some reason. I'll toss a Max Elixir, and I'll toss this Gravelly Rock 3. It's fine. And I can actually do the same thing here. And I can get another Reviver Seed from just pick up stuff. And actually got really good RNG for this floor. It's actually in a 100% perfect world. It's debatable if this quick save is necessary because this dungeon's so short and there's no boss fight we have to worry about. But for safety's sake, we just roll with quick saving here. Because, like, for example, my split, like, I have a split for Mount Freeze Peak in my, like, streams, and my non-manipulated gold segment for that split is faster than my manipulated gold segment. So that's, I guess, the frontier of what this game's gonna end up being like. Understanding risk of what we need to do, and having the idea of not quick saving on certain floors in hopes of getting better outcomes. And that's already kind of been exposed with the idea, like, if you were paying attention in Mount Thunder, I didn't quick save on floor 1. I quick saved on floor 2, so I just did the first 2 floors like I would usually do them. But there's always a plus or minus to that. Like, I got a really bad second floor on that Mount Thunder split, so it's really just I lost my train of thought. It's really just like figuring out what you really need and like how you can do it. For example, Magma Cavern, which is one of the later dungeons we're going into, has that same problem where we have to quick save on floor 3 because of the manipulation. But there's strats where you quick save on floor 1 and then floor 3. There's strats where you quick save on floor 1, then floor 2, then floor 3. So you can do all 3, or you can do nothing but the 3rd. So it's all just preference and stuff like that. Already. Spliced. Did my internet go out? It's unfortunate. Sorry about that. But yeah. Basically, Gengar is turned out to be a fraud. It's whatever. I'm not sure if I tried to mute my mic, but if you heard, I had to run to the restroom for a second. But that's one of the things about this game that I love, is that... Oh, I opened the restore point menu? That's unfortunate. That's okay. But now we're back to the grind. The grind includes doing more missions. So let's go back to Thunderwave Cave and do some more missions. Are you sick? Are you sick of Thunderwave Cave yet? I hope you're not. This is, I promise you, this is the last time I have to go into Thunderwave Cave for missions. But before I can trigger the next story-related event, I have to do some missions. So one of the other cool things I think I like about how the manipulation just works in general is that no matter what level you are, as long as you have the same amount of Pokemon in your party with the same sort of like lineup, like the same IQ skills, same everything else, the manipulation won't change if you move the exact same way. So like for example, I can still do this and more will come straight to me. And even though I'm gonna scratch this this Voltorb here, if I scratch it instead of using my frustration links, it'll actually retain the same RNG that we've seen before. And I guess I didn't have to use frustration there, but it doesn't change much. And that is 3 missions. We're finally out of Thunderwave Cave. Well, yeah, it was funny enough, my roommate behind me was holding the B button for me while I ran out and had to tend to business. So, like, it's funny because you can. I have seen a lot of creative ways of how to get a setup in such a way where you can, you know, hold B and do other stuff while you do it. Because, like, when I started this speed game, like, originally, I was drawn to it just because, I was able to, like, chill out and do other stuff while the cutscenes were playing. Because the cutscenes, especially in Sky, Explorers of Sky Time Darkness, are a decent chunk of what you're doing. Which is unfortunate, kind of, because you only get... I think the tasks for Explorers of Sky at the moment is around 4 hours and change. But that being said, you still get a lot of gameplay within that 4 hours and change, because the speedruns are around 5 hours as of now. So you still get about an hour and a half, 2 hours of gameplay. Like pure dungeon grinding gameplay. People have asked, like, if using clips to hold down your Wii button, or you making someone else hold B for you, if that would count as a co-op or a task or anything. But our like the mods at the Mystery Dungeon community are very lax. So as we would say, our main goal is, like, as long as you're not taking it out of human command, we don't really care. Like, if your button was holding down, if your finger was holding down the B button, it's proactively the same. We also really encourage people to take care of their health, especially when running games that could be 6, 8, 10 hours long. But this is okay. We have to go to the bulletin board again because why not? And Wobbuffet told us to. And because we have seen the Upper Forest mission, we're going to accept that and continue the story with going to Upper Forest. So, there are This is technically Upper Forest. It's kind of part of the main story. So, like, it's required, but it's also not required in a linear sense. So there's 2 flagged checkpoints you need to clear before you can start going again. Before the next cutscene, like, starts happening. And those 2 are doing 4 missions collectively and completing your house. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, that's okay. You'll understand it in 10 or so minutes when it happens. But basically, you have to clear 4 missions and complete Upper Forest before you can really do anything else with the story. So we just do Upper Forest first because it's easier. And it's understood you can do it first and it's fine. We also do that in the speedrun. Primarily because in the good old days of non-manipulated routes, Upper Forest is a major choke point of the run because you have the... Oh, I need to... Okay, I need to clear inventory space actually. Forgot about this. See, when you hold way too many... Okay, that's fine. When you hold too many items in your inventory, you have to inventory manage. But what I was saying is, you have to have 2 chestnuts, which is an exclusive item to Upper Forest, to complete your base upgrade. It's the best way I can put it. So the 9th floor is the only place we can find chestnuts, so naturally we're going to manipulate a picked up chestnut, but we also need 1 more before we can head out. So I'm gonna do this very... Oh no. I was gonna attempt this very specific movement, but I'm not sure if I've screwed up or not. Yeah, okay. We have a movement set up, so... Oh, hi. So that we can grab that chestnut and come back pretty unscathed. Unfortunately, I kind of flubbed that movement, but that's okay. And I believe that I don't have the ability to take this item back. Yeah, I don't. So I just have to remember to take it out in the overworld. So these 3 Mankey are just literally regular Mankeys. So we just dispatch them quickly and then we move on with our lives. But wait. They're back. And they want more. They want more fight for us. They want to fight us. But what do we have here? We have a chestnut. Mankeys love chestnuts, dude. You don't know? And with this, we bring up a business setup, you know? We give them chestnuts, they build us a new base. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh, I need to press A. Whoops. Understandable. But this is what we mean by rebuilding the house. We have to get some chestnuts, feed them to some Mankeys, and get the house redone. Because right now the house is good, but it's not Meowth standard, you know. If you walk up to it, it doesn't scream Meowth. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna do that coming up here. So now we have to find some chestnuts, which we do have. And like unfortunately, we don't have a manipulated way, and we don't have a good way to get those chestnuts without the use of saving and quitting our game. So we're just gonna, we have both the chestnuts, we're gonna feed Minky them, and we're gonna go on to the only time we have to do Mount Steel missions, which is just a very, very hard mission set to do, because Mount Steel is crazy. There's a reason why we quick save twice in Mount Steel. Let me take this chestnut from myself really quick. There's a reason why we quick save in Mount Steel, and it's because if you don't quick save twice, it's just terrible. But the places where the clients are in the Mount Steel missions are equally terrible wherever we quick save. So it's actually faster to just quick save once. And I'll showcase that in the Mount Steel missions we're about to do. But it's definitely one of the more technical parts of this run. Also, look at that freaking mailbox. It's a tail on it. It's so cute. Freaking love it. So now I'm gonna make sure I have all my Mount Steels and I have the item I need. I indeed do. So I'm gonna actually toss out everything else I don't really need. Like extra orange berries, that max elixir. I'm gonna try to clear my inventory as much as possible, just because I want to get these items that Mount Steel is gonna give me. Okay, that's not. Oh my goodness, that's not what I wanted to have happen. That was a lot of Pokemon in my immediate vicinity. So you'll see a couple of variations in the Mount Steel route. That you wouldn't see the first time around. Like, you can see what? Oh, I see. I did an oops, but that's okay. I shouldn't have picked my item up there, I should have picked my item up here. That's right. There's so many things to remember, sometimes you just forget something, it's understandable. But here's our client, our floor 3 client, in a very, very good position. And like the first time, we're going to pick up another Petrify Orb. These Petrify Orbs are going to be so good later, just to get us out of sticky situations. Now, this 6th floor is probably one of the more technically impressive, like, oh no, I already messed it up. Unfortunate. Can I just freestyle on this guy? Hello. You can kind of see how hard it is to sometimes find clients quickly, just in terms of, like, them just running around everywhere. I'm probably going to get a line of enemies right here. Getting one Tyrogue's okay. But the good thing about this is I had a near mission on the 5th floor, so after I rescue this Pidgey, I can just leave. So that is Mount Steel. Unfortunately, I couldn't give you the good old 4-6 treatment, but that's okay. It happens. And through this, I can get a lot of items. Reviver Seeds are by far the most important item that we can have right now, just because they're so first of all, they help us not die. That's important. Not dying is very, very important. But also it gives us extra tools, like Gravelly Rocks aren't super helpful, Max Elixirs are good for backup. Just a lot of fallback options that we can have. Hopefully we don't have to use anything that serious, but it's possible. It's possible. But now, let's have a story update real quick. We've heard that Team ACT has been going in to find Groudon to really just put a Groudon in his place to make sure he's not causing any earthquake mischief. But we haven't heard from him from a while, so it's just like, what's going on? This is weird. Why they're the best, they're literally the best team out there. What gives? So our whole gung ho is like, hey, let us go, and Lombre just kind of blocks us. He's just being a little butt. He's like, you guys aren't ready for this yet. Trust me. And we're like, excuse me. I have the power of RNGesus on my side. I control the RNG. I can definitely do this. We have to see Golem, Blastoise, and Octillery come ahead of us and see if they can do it before we can do it. Who knows? Maybe they'll get through it and we can skip Magma Cavern. If only it was that simple. Mission time. Actually, I need to check if I do my 2 missions. That's a good thing. Oh, that's the stairs. Oh, this is actually really good tiny woods so far. To just get this Wurmple and go onto the 3rd floor. Like, a lot of the early game dungeons are super hit or miss when it comes to being able to find the stairs quickly, because sometimes they're made to not be good for you. Just in terms of like trying to find where the stairs are. Because like there's a lot of times where it's just a linear line, and you have to go from point A to point B. You have to take this path, and because it's the only path, most of the time there's a lot of enemies around it as well. Anyway, it is time for us to spread our wings and take flight. Because obviously Octillery and them couldn't do it. Unfortunate. They came back. They couldn't even find Team ACT. So let's bring in the big guns. Let's bring in Baby Blastoise and Small Cat and see how much damage we can do. Finally, Lombre's not here to tell us no. We can just go for ourselves. Let's go for it. Let's just go for it. We can definitely take on this challenge that we've bestowed for ourselves. The rookies can definitely do this. Anyway, Magma Cavern's gonna be Magma Cavern's by far my favorite dungeon because there's just so much to it. It's not only one of the longest dungeons in the whole entire game, but we're also gonna pick up one of the most broken items in the manipulated arsenal, which is the Warp Scarf. This scarf is going to be really good because you would think it's a gimmicky item in normal gameplay, right? It's an item that, after a random amount of tiles, it randomly warps you to another tile, and then rinse and repeat for eternity. So you can't really do much with a Warp Scarf unless you enjoy being teleported around aimlessly. But lucky for us, we can find a Warp Scarf before the post-game, and we can use this with the manipulated route to get some really cool movement options in our arsenal. So hopefully this cutscene ends soon. Well, I know it ends soon, but hopefully this cutscene doesn't take too much longer and we can really get into by far my favorite dungeon of this game. So I can answer some questions in this little moment of free time. This Mystery Dungeon game is the first of a line of 4 sets. There's earlier Mystery Dungeon games that aren't Pokemon, but this is the first ever Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game. And along with that, there's a sequel that's exactly like this one, but a different story and more Pokemon, like based on Gen 4 Pokemon. And then after that, there's one that's like there's 2 others from the 3DS games, Super Mystery Dungeon and Gates to Infinity, and both of those are sprite based, and there's and they're significantly harder in my opinion than these games. And I'm talking about like the ones that are localized you can still get right now, because of course there's the WiiWare games, but have you ever seen a WiiWare game like the Pokemon WiiWare games ever? Actually, I'm not gonna quick save here. Let's see. I'll quick save on the 2nd floor. This will be fine. Yeah, and since the Nintendo Wii eShop is down, the WiiWare games are lost to time. I'm gonna quick save here. I'm just setting up for the best possible manipulated stuff. There's actually like quick saving on the 2nd floor gives you a decent pattern, but it also doesn't give you access to the Warp Scarf, which is what we really want right now. And this is when we're really going to get into points where I'm like moving in very weird fashions, but of course this is to just... I'll fight you, it's okay, Gengar. It's to avoid Pokemon encounters like that I didn't really successfully do that one. That's okay. Yeah, it should be. Yeah, it should be fine. I picked up a frustration TM here, which is actually like super rare, but I'm not complaining. It's a frustration TM. And we figured it out that if we have pickup activate on this specific floor, I'm actually gonna place this down. Oh no. Just okay. Hello. Hello. There we go. I'll link his stuff later. You're supposed to use a link box right there, but I'm gonna just use it right here instead to link his stuff together. And we're smooth sailing, guys. This has been a rough first half, but I'll make it up with an amazing second half, because it is almost time for us to get the Warp Scarf. And this is when the fun really starts to happen. I'm gonna just start warping everywhere. I'm gonna warp around. Squirtle took a death, but that's okay. I have so many Reviver Seeds right now, I could really care less. I hope you appreciate the warping cat. So this is when the game really ramps up in terms of really being able to... Oh, okay. I'll do this. I'll beat this. This is when inventory management's becoming a pain. Where is it? Oh, it's right. Okay, it's right here. I lost track of it in the inventory for some reason. So that's Magma Cavern. And the fun thing about Magma Cavern is that we can just as easily use the Warp Scarf. Oh, the stairs are right there though, so I don't even need to worry about that. We don't quick save here because we really, like, it's a one floor dungeon. We have the one floor and then the boss. So we could quick save on that floor to manipulate the boss, but from my experience, Groudon isn't that bad. Like, it's definitely not bad enough to warrant us to try to quick save on the first floor to manipulate him. Yeah, what I like about the Mystery Dungeon games is that each game kind of feels unique in its own way, you know? So, like, obviously Blue Rescue Team and Explorers of Time Sky Darkness feel very similar in terms of mechanics, but they also, like, function in very different ways, and the speedruns are insanely different because of it. That's okay, Groudon took a seed from me. He'll probably A-attack us or miss his scary face or something. Yeah. Usually you don't see bosses, like, using more than a move at a time. And since he dies in one turn anyway, it's fine. You can kind of see how 180 a turn is kind of crazy in terms of damage output. It's like Groudon went down in, what, 3 hits? 2 hits? Yeah, 3 hits. So now we have acquired our Warp Scarf. We have acquired a lot of things. Now it's time for everything to wrap together into Rayquaza. Or Sky Tower and Rayquaza. And we are going down. I like Sky Tower the most, just because it has a good representation of a lot of the different aspects you can find in a run. We're going to be seeing orb usage, we're going to be seeing warping around, we're going to be seeing moving in specific ways to manipulate how opponents attack us. It's really a good representation of what is going to happen to us. And with the power of RNG on my side, I'll be able to understand this pretty well. And I'll be able to do what anyone else couldn't, just like in Magma Cavern. But before I do that, I have to inventory manage again, because I am running out of inventory slots. I can get rid of these gummies, for the most part, and the blast seed and plane seed, and this used TM. I meant to say yes. I'm ready to go. Chunsoft, I believe is who made these games, are very talented people. They had, just like Nintendo games as a whole, they have really good solid, music design, sound design. They have insane, just attention to detail in terms of everything they do. And it shows in stuff like Super and stuff. Here's the last hurrah. Gengar's trying to make us have a nightmare before our big day. But that's no match for our boy Gardevoir. No match for our girl Gardevoir. Pushing out darkness to give us strength. It's all that's what we're about, man. We're finally here. Finally here on the day. Sky Tower has one of the most banger soundtracks that I've ever seen. Sky Tower is just great. Like, how can you not love this kind of music? A racket band, that's a funny item to pick up. Never seen that picked up before, actually. I didn't know you could get that on the first floor of this dungeon. Anyway, this is when we're gonna start using orbs. If you wanna do orb. That just helps us not have to fight those things, because like that's a really bad position we put ourselves in there. And this is when the fun is actually gonna start. Shedinja's gonna be really nasty because you really don't have any way of killing them. But good thing rocks and like thorn items do damage to him. And like one of the main big things that is stressed in Sky Tower is health management, because it's impossible to like, you know, like be on full health the whole time when we're using these kind of like warping around straight to the stairs kind of strats. So a lot of the times I'm going to be doing specific strats based on what I like, how much health I can spare. Like this floor 11 coming up is Inhale, so I have to really figure out, like, or decide how I'm going to move before I actually do, you know? That's not what I wanted to do, I'm just going to kill you then. And this is a good example of what happens if you mess up a manipulation with the Warp Scarf on. Sometimes it just screws everything up and you need to take it off and put it back on and hope that, you don't, like, have to really, like, get punished that hard for it. Like, in my case, I lost a seed from it. Anytime you're like actually using the Warp Scarf, you like just need to really lock in, because it's really easy just to chain bad movements and just get into a mess. I think is Squirrel gonna die from the Dusclops? He might. Whatever. Take my seed. I have enough of them already. This is a good. Dusclops can be nasty, man. This is the biggest whiff of my life, I'm not gonna lie. That's okay. I've had enough padding so far that I really can afford to make some mistakes. I've just lost focus, which is unfortunate. It happens to the best of us, you know. This is the only time I'm actually going to be warping 3 times in one floor. Gets the job done pretty nicely. Yeah, it's this. I'm going to actually A-attack here. And it looks dumb, but it's because I don't want to warp away when I'm on the stairs. You've seen me do that plenty of times already. Hi, Flygon. This isn't what's supposed to happen, by the way. Not at all. But I mean, like, Silver Lining, I guess. Okay, never mind. I was trying to make sure Squirtle didn't lose a seed there, but, that's unfortunate. And that was a train wreck of Sky Tower right there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm gonna make it up to you guys on the peak and just give you a stellar peak that's free of mistakes. As long as Aerodactyl doesn't want to take any of my seeds, I'll be fine with it. But I'm going to only use the Warp Orb for about a couple of floors of this place. Just because it's really hard sometimes to get a good enough teleport to warrant using it. And here's another orb. And here's the weirdest movement of all time. But it works. Look at that. And now I'm actually gonna, right here after I kill this Aerodactyl, I'm gonna take off the Petrify or the Warp Scarf, excuse me, and put back on, a ribbon of some kind, just for held item's sake, so I'm not triggering pickup, because sometimes triggering pickup's bad, and I want to not have that happen sometimes. And now we're one Pokemon away from being done with this speed run. And albeit it's a terrible one, but that's okay. But now I'm gonna actually showcase this is actually a slower strat, but I'm gonna showcase a really cool idea that we've actually really never touched on at all. So we can, Squirtle just follows us around, right? But we can make it in such a way where Squirtle doesn't follow us around, and that can help us, like, get around Pokemon that just are really mean. So, like, this Rayquaza is really mean sometimes, but if I tell Squirtle to get away, it tells them to run away from the target, and that allows us to lure Rayquaza into a different part of the place and time. Oh, sorry, that was super abrupt in, like, mid-sentence, but that is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Blue Rescue Team, any % no Wondermail. And this is a race timing, and even it was a 2 hours and 40 second split. This is probably about a 2:05 and change with actual RTA timing. But I'll let this cutscene play out for a bit, but I just want to shout out a couple people and bring up a couple things. Our speedrunning community is super open and super duper, like, welcoming to anybody who wants to be in it. You don't have to be committed to running games. You don't. If you ever try to join the PSR Discord, they make you, like, say, oh, I want to learn this game and this game. We don't necessarily ask you to do that. It's just an unwritten rule that you want to be in community with us, getting these games, speedrunning these games, and working towards crazy goals. Like, there's a group of us trying to transfer this manipulated route into catching every single Pokemon, which is super cool, but it's a lot of work. So, if you even just like watching runs, you can join there and find a lot of cool people that stream. People like Whom is DS, who is, like, the best PMD speedrunner probably of all time. And then people like Mozzarella Cheese, who is super, super dedicated to his craft of just getting runs off the ground, getting categories off the ground. And there's a lot of other people I could name, but our community is just super generous. And if you go to any of the Mystery Dungeon speedrun.com pages, you can find the Discord link to that. And of course, if you like what you see, follow myself. I'm a full-time student, but I love doing these in my free time.